Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today. We're excited to have a terrific webinar for you. We have over 1,500 nonprofit professionals registered for today's Spring into 2016 Fundraising webinar presentation brought to you by Mobile Cause. Today's topic is a very timely one as spring is right around the corner, and we know many nonprofits are beginning to plan their upcoming events. We're going to hear from top fundraising experts about some of the new technologies and proven strategies that organizations can use to maximize results across spring events and fundraising campaigns, including two organizations who have had great success using the Mobile Cause platform to meet their own specific fundraising goals. This next hour will be jam-packed with tips and best practices that your organization can implement immediately for event planning and fundraising, and we'll have time at the end for plenty of Q&A with our expert panel. So we're excited to have all of you joining us today. If you have any questions, as I mentioned, we will be saving about 10 minutes at the end of the webinar for questions. You can type all of those into chat directly on the left side of your screen. We will be sending out a recorded version along with the presentation. So stand by for that. If you'd like to review anything or if you miss anything, you will be able to do so. So thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to dive right into it. We've got a jam-packed agenda today. We're going to go through 5 effective technologies for spring events. We're going to talk about streamlined fundraising with Randy Lappin. We're going to be talking about targeting new networks with Lonnie Klein. We'll be doing spring giving tips with David Faustina. And we've got a live demo of our end-to-end solution. So again, stand by for questions at the end. Please feel free to go ahead and type them into chat, and I'll be keeping track of those as we proceed. So we've got some great speakers. I'm looking forward to introducing each one of them as we begin their section. And right off the bat, I'm going to introduce quickly Jeremy Koenig, my colleague at Mobile Cause, who's going to talk to us about some fantastic trends and what he sees and some great tips for you. Jeremy, welcome.
Thank you, Chris, and welcome everyone that's on the call. We are so excited for all of your participation. Our goal for this webinar is that each one of you would be able to take away a tip or a best practice that you would be able to implement this quarter to do fundraising better, to engage more donors, to raise more gifts, and to most importantly, transform the impact of your cause. I've done a quick overview of 2015 to find the top 5 ways that our customers are using technologies to grow their spring events and their events in general. And so I'm just going to go through those really quickly as an introduction to our speakers. Number 1, every organization on this call at some time this year should use crowdfunding to gain new advocates. It is amazing that 1/3 of all donations made last year were a result of crowdfunding. It's important to note that crowdfunding, the most successful campaigns run 4 to 5 weeks, and the average volunteer raises $612, making it a great way to reach an entirely new network of supporters. Number 2, make it easy for your constituents to register and buy tickets. Last year, 20% of registrations came from mobile devices. This makes it incredibly easy for people of all ages to be able to sign up in seconds from any device. Links to these type of donation forms can be promoted easily on social media, in email, and text message, but they also can be embedded on your website so that you can just easily promote a secure link, for example, Covenant House, New Jersey /RSVP. Number 3, make giving simple. It is so incredibly important that all your supporters, all types of your supporters, all ages and sizes and types can give on your website quickly and easily with minimal fields and minimal clicks and minimal taps. We have found that custom pages yield 38% more gifts than just generic giving pages on your website. This is true because when your web page is designed to reinforce the intention of giving, in the colors that you use, in the photographs that you use, in the labeling of your buttons and fields, it inspires people to give more, and it gives people confidence that they're making secure donations that are going to go directly to making a difference. Number 4, showcase participation at live events. This is probably the most applicable if we're talking specifically about fundraising dinner galas and luncheons and anything that is live in the spring. This product has absolutely been our bread and butter for 4 years, and it is bulletproof. Fundraising thermometers at events increase giving by 35%. This is because it creates an exciting moment of giving that inspires the audience to work together to reach a goal. It is very important. The key element in using a fundraising thermometer is that you display not only mobile pledges that are made at the event, but you manually enter out-of-towner gifts, cash and checks, auction totals and ticket sales if you have them, and matching funds and sponsorships. And this will drive the donation total up to ensure that you reach your goal and you have just this exciting, thrilling moment at your event. Finally, number 5, send compelling mobile alerts. We live in an age of text messaging, specifically with your donors and supporters that are under 35. I will be the first to tell you that if you are only sending emails, direct mail, and social media, you are missing a large chunk of your constituency. And while these advocates are different, they're extremely important, and soon they're going to become the largest demographic of our entire donor pool. I write here, 90% of texts are read immediately within 3 minutes. It's critical to send alerts before, during, and after your event to increase participation. Believe it or not, on these webinars, when I send the text message out an hour before, I actually get a 50% increase in people that show up. So that is evidence of itself of the power of text messaging. When you integrate text message alerts with social media posts, email, and direct mail, you will see a dramatic increase in people clicking links to volunteer, clicking links to make donations, and responding to direct mail in the way that you have written your call to action. And so with that, I'm going to flip it over to Chris to introduce our first speaker, who's going to talk about some very important proven strategies. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Jeremy. And again, everyone, if you have questions, feel free to type them into chat. We will be getting to as many of them as we can during a roundtable discussion at the end of the presentation today. And we will be sending out via email within the next day a link to view and watch and share the recorded version of the webinar along with the slides. So in case you missed anything or you want to re-review anything, you'll be able to get that. So now, without further ado, I'd love to introduce my next speaker, which is Randy Lappin. He's the Chief Philanthropy Officer at Jewish Vocational Service. Welcome, Randy. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on board, and good morning, everybody.
So tell us a little bit at first, if you could, about, the organization and its mission, and, what you were looking at doing before you started working with mobile calls.
Sure. JVS is 85 years old. We're the largest and most experienced nonprofit here in Los Angeles, focusing on what we call workforce development, basically anything to do with moving people onto employment. So any need, any barrier that they're facing, whether it's vocational training or it's career apparel, transportation, child care, whatever is blocking them towards becoming fully financially independent, we either deliver those services directly or we'll partner with community services in the area to line those up. And we help generally about 30,000 people a year in that effort. We are a completely non-sectarian public charity, and in my role, I raise what is not raised through government support. So out of $18 million a year, I'm looking to raise close to $4 million through various avenues, as most people on the phone are accustomed to, whether it's events, planned giving, direct major gift appeal, et cetera, et cetera.
And before you started working with Mobile Cause, you did a lot of events and fundraising, and what were some of your experiences that were perhaps challenging at the time?
Well, like most other organizations, our events evolve over time, and events are very expensive, very laborious. However, what they are good at is bringing a lot of people under the same tent to hear your message. And as most of us know in development, it's not getting them to the room that's where the work is. It's what you do afterwards and how you follow up. So what we were challenged with is raising the money for sponsorships and ticket sales up to the event and at the event was very important, obviously. But we used the old-fashioned pledge cards for years and years and years at our events. And what we found is it was somewhat successful, but it interrupted the program. The house lights would come up. We lost that emotional crescendo that we had built into the program, where we have our client video, where we show 3 clients with a very moving story. The house lights come up. There's the 3 clients. We ask for the appeal to do more than they have already in that room to meet the need. And they get their pens there from the table, and it just stops everything. And then there's the back end where we have to go and collect those pledges. So it became, at that point, we didn't know of any other options, but it was another way of raising funds, and it did okay, but it wasn't great. What we've started to become aware of over 3 years ago was this whole text-to-pledge technology boom. And we explored many different options. There are some that you could text on a device that is supplied in the room that's not your phone, but it's a device that's rented. You pass it to the next person at the table, and that has its pluses and its negatives. We went through that. There was another company that wanted to do it where it showed up on your cell phone bill, and then there was a whole back-end collecting, and it created another host of issues. We then came across Mobile Cause. And believe me, I'm not paid by Mobile Cause, but I will tell you that I am an unabashed believer. We have been through the ring on this, and I have found that not only they are effective and efficient and very cost effective compared to the others, the reports that come out and the ease of use is a big difference. And so what we have done is our first year, because we have an older constituency for the most part, although that's evolving, we were concerned first year that people wouldn't take to this new technology. So we kind of hedged our bet. We provided both pledge cards and the cell phone technology through Mobile Cause at our luncheon. And we have two major events a year, a luncheon and an evening gala. And so Mobile Cause was there every step of the way. They helped us technically. We built a thermometer. We came up with a goal. I will tell you at the end of this what I believe are some of the secrets to making this really work. We've been around and we've learned what we think is important. But the bottom line is, in 10 to 12 minutes, we raised $20,000 to $30,000 first year. And the most important thing is we found that people had fun. Where most people felt getting the pledge cards and writing a pledge and putting in a credit card, they felt pressured, and it just was it was the old-fashioned way. This was fun. People asked for others to help. It moved quickly, and literally in about 12 minutes we were done, and we went on with the program.
And tell us, Randy, a little bit about when we were speaking last week in terms of your, older donors, right? There's always a concern, I think, among everyone who have, potentially older donors in the community. Their concern about, using mobile technology, as a replacement for what they're used to. How did you address that, and what was the result?
Well, as I said earlier, I think we kind of hedged our bet the first year, and we covered ourselves with pledge cards. But we found that some of the senior people we were concerned with were some of the first to start entering in pledges and putting in their information. I think one of the big motivators, as I think Jeremy outlined early on, is this rolling list of names. You have the option of adding the names or adding the amount, or neither one. And we chose to put in the name and the amount. We felt that it encouraged other people to give. It becomes very competitive. It becomes fun. There are people that can give multiple times. You don't have to just give once. But the older people just adapted very quickly. What we learned later on is that we had staff well advised and trained to sort of roam the room and be there as resources to help people. Sometimes they would ask us, could you take my phone? I want to put $1,000 in, or I want to put $100 in, and we would enter the information into their phone, and up on the screen would come their name. So I think that's how we overcame that problem. It really was not an issue from almost from the beginning.
Right. And now talk to us a little bit about, for those, again, that are thinking about, either a spring event, of course, or just any event that they're planning, in the coming months. How many people did it really take for you, to implement this?
Well, and that's the other thing. I think it's on the slide there. You do not have to be a large shop to make this happen and to bring this into your toolkit, if you will. I literally have two people on my team, and one of those people is a full-time doing data entry into our database and doing donor acknowledgments and letters and receipts. So I really have one full-time person that assists me. Where we come together here at JVS is my colleague, who's VP of Communications, Catherine Moore. She works hand in glove with me through marketing and through production of the event to script the program to, again, make sure that it's integrated. This whole ask or appeal is integrated into the narrative. People say, boy, I already paid to get here. Well, my point, and it's in the script, is there are a lot of people that came as the guests of someone else that paid nothing. So we carefully script it that says if you're here as the guest of someone, or if you are so moved by what you've seen here today to give above and beyond what you've already done, this is your opportunity to go above and beyond and make a bigger difference. The goal is definitely a help. We want to achieve that goal. It has to be a realistic goal because you want to achieve it. We have had people in the room. This is no big secret. We've had shills in the room that will be the closer if we're 2,000, 5,000 away from a goal, whatever it is. We have people that will step up and make that pledge so we achieve that goal. We don't want people walking away not having met that goal as a room. But what we found is that people really gravitate towards a matching gift. So I generally try to find, and I've been successful so far in finding someone or people that will pledge up to a certain amount, and we announce that at the event. So if we can raise $50,000 in addition to what we've already done here today, $25,000 of that is a match. So if we can get to 25, that unleashes, if you will, the additional 25, and we will have achieved our goal so we can help even more people than we have. That kind of thing. People really love that. The other aspect that we found is almost a must. There's two things. Your website has to be up to date and current, and if you can, have it be mobile responsive. 85% or more people now today use their cell phones, their smartphones, to make these kinds of transactions. If your website isn't set up for that and they have to rejigger the image and squeeze it and pinch it and twist it, it becomes a bit of an issue for them. Also, the use of the forms and make it easy to make a donation. It's very important because you're driving everybody to that website. And the other thing that we found is the MC or the host is really the driver. You can have all the whistles and bells, and you can have mobile calls, and you can have the right clients in the room and that whole emotional scene set. But if this thing just lags and drags, you've lost that whole initiative. So we have used a local weatherman who, if you think about it in their job, they're very used to timelines. They're used to keeping things on time in terms of a program. They're used to speaking in front of audiences. They're used to a teleprompter. They're somewhat glib for the most part. And so we have found that having a local quasi-celebrity, if you will, but someone who's professional, keeps it moving, keeps it fun, keeps it engaging. You could have your board chair up there or whoever as a layperson, but the real driver and the secret sauce is to have someone that's a pro move this thing forward. The last thing, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, how did they play off of the thermometer, and how does that help, having the audience be able to see sort of the status of their pledges, and
sure.
How do you use that, and how does it effective
what we have found is
use the thermometer? Yeah.
No, it's a great question. What we found is that the key to having this work is to have it on a big screen. We sometimes had two screens, sometimes we've had one behind the podium on the stage. As long as the MC or the person up there can see the screen, what we found works is that they literally read off the names as they come up and the amount. So, okay, well, there's Randy Lappin. He just gave $50. Randy, that's wonderful. That's going to go a long way towards our goal, and on and on and on and on. And people, after a while now, they're so used to this technology, they actually put in a message. One of the funniest ones was someone put in whatever the pledge was. Let's say it's $50. The handsome man at table 13. And so that took on a whole life of its own. The house lights came up. Who is the handsome man on table 13? And it became fun. And as I said, it really, you can have a good time raising a lot of money.
And how about, like, in terms of the conversion rate, like the pledge to commitment, right? Like, because have you found an increase in the ability and ease of collecting what people have pledged because of this?
Yes, I do. It's taken a lot of the labor out from us. Part of the deal with Mobile Cause is they offer this phone service where you will work with them on a script. Since they now have the cell phone numbers, because that's that's how they make their pledge, they will call these people at a time that you prescribe with a speech that you help create and approve at a frequency that you direct. So we said we don't want them being called on the weekend. We don't want them being called past 5 p.m. And we don't want them called more than 2 weeks. After that, what's ever left to collect comes back to us. And at that point, probably I'd say 85 to 90% of the pledges were already collected. We did the cleanup and worked on the back end. So that was very helpful. A lot of people can option, and they do, to fulfill their pledge right there. So for another 2 minutes, they take that cell phone and they complete the gift right there. They enter in their credit card, and it's done. We found that a lot of people do it while they're waiting for the valet car. They're standing there anyway, and they fulfill their pledge.
Fantastic. And so how do you, in terms of, for everybody, again, planning events, what sort of like recommendations, beyond, you've made some terrific ones, do you suggest sort of in the planning stages?
Well, we are beginning to use the text option more and more. I have to say that I've been leery and just reticent to contact these people on their personal device because it is their personal device and you're getting into their space. So I'm fine with sending out a text message prior to the event. We usually send something out 24 hours in advance saying, thank you for registering. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Here are the details for your information. And we give them parking instructions and dress code, address, and just those reminders that way. I have no problem with that, and that's been well received. We then follow up after the event as well with a post thank you and another opportunity to make a gift. We do a picture from the event and an e-blast that we send out, and that's been well received. What we are starting to explore is using the option now of contacting them throughout the year on their cell phone with not for asks, not for money, but just highlights, because we know they're invested with us. Here's something that happened today at a workshop, or hear from our own clients' words this moving story, or see how lives are being changed here at JVS. Something inspirational, something motivational, so that we're not always going from ask to ask. But I do take a look at the dropout rate and the unsubscribe rate. That's something that I'm always cautious of, and there is a bit of that, but it's nothing out of the norm that you would expect.
These are terrific insights, Randy, and I think we've got some great questions coming in, so everyone continue to please send us your questions. My colleagues at Mobile Cause are in the chat answering some of your specific questions. Of course, there's a way for you to get in touch with us directly and get a specific quote for your specific needs. Okay. And I'm going to transition quickly to our next speaker because we've got so much great content.
Can I just add?
I would love a last point. Yes.
Thank you, and it is my last point. What we weren't aware of at the beginning is some venues are not cell phone friendly. So if you don't have Windows in the ballroom, if you don't have a good cell strength from AT&T and Verizon, et cetera, we thought we'd have to go to a new technology or a different technology. What we found is that there are third-party vendors that will offer you, I believe it's called a repeater, that it's about $2,000. It's not cheap. But for those venues that you're locked in and you can't change venues and you want to do this, you can do this as hire a third party, and they will snake a cable from the roof down into the ballroom and put a receiver on the roof with the venue's permission, of course. We've had no problem with that, and we get every carrier that way with full 4 bars. So don't let a cell phone signal be a hindrance to you, but check that out. It's very important before you go forward. That's it.
That's a great tip, and it's probably something great to add to your, pre-event checklist to ensure that, you've got, quality cell phone coverage at your event. And again, Randy, you got so much great insight. So everyone, please, definitely stay tuned. And if you have other questions for Randy, keep them, send them in to us via chat, and we'll get to them in the roundtable shortly. But next up, I'd like to introduce my next speaker, Lonnie Klein, from Lycoming College. She's the Associate Vice President for Development. Welcome, Lonnie. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Good to be on the call.
So tell us a little bit about the college and obviously, in higher ed, some of your specific goals and a little bit about what where Mobile Cause and where, this kind of technology sort of fits into your overall programs.
Sure. So Lycoming College is a small liberal arts private institution in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So it's afternoon for us and quite frigid here, actually. But we have a student base of about approximately 1,400 students and an alumni base of 14,000, strong participation rate from that group. We raise about $5 million annually. And we're currently in the silent phase of a comprehensive campaign. So when we started to explore Mobile Cause, one of the things that we really wanted to do was begin to explore new ways to engage donors broadly, but also in a more targeted way as well. Some of the information and feedback that we've been getting from a lot of our donors, and even just in normal day-to-day conversations with alumni, is that they really want to understand how their gifts are in action on campus for the students. And so that really told us the story of, okay, we really need to begin exploring ways in which we can do these specific projects and offer these fundraising opportunities where donors will understand how their money is impacting the institution. Because if they're just giving to the Lycoming Fund, which is is a wonderful thing, and it's unrestricted and offers a lot of flexibility for the institution, it doesn't quite indicate to the donor, what have I just given to? So for us, Mobile Cause and crowdfunding has really allowed us to do that, and we've seen some really good results.
Fantastic. And so, you just embarked on this. Obviously, that was just your first little foray. So I guess tell us a little bit of, first of all, what were, again, I think it sounded like, tell us a little bit about what the situation you were in, what you were trying to accomplish, and how did you go about setting this initial goal?
Sure. So we had, about 3 years ago, we had a new president begin at our college, wonderful, wonderful leader, and he instituted a new strategic plan. It involved a lot of people across campus, alumni, students, and part of that strategic plan was to engage China, build a relationship in China in which we can build relationships to have students from China come to our campus, and likewise we can send students to China. And so thinking through that strategic initiative, we thought, okay, this is an opportunity for us to send our Lycoming College tour choir to China to, one, build some relationships there, get our name out in Shanghai and Beijing. And so it was sort of one of those smaller things that we could do in a grander scheme of that strategic initiative. And so we had a plan in place. Obviously, we're sending our choir to China in May, and we knew that, okay, this is going to be very costly for our students, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't have to leave any students behind. We could send all 40 students to China, and they would not have a big financial responsibility to pay out of their own pockets for this experience. So we worked with the finance office and the president's office to determine, okay, based on what it's going to cost per student, this is what we need to raise. So we set a goal of $50,000, and this is, like you said, our first crowdfunding project. And it was really great. We had a lot of volunteers in place. We had a leadership committee of 5 volunteers who started out with us, and they really helped to sort of shape some ideas around this. How could we, before the crowdfunding page was actually announced, how could we begin to prep our supporters with a series of feel-good stories and interactions? And so at homecoming in this past year, we actually had a Lycoming College Tour Choir alumni event. And so all weekend they had happy hours, they had an alumni concert, they were really engaging with one another, and the volunteers that we had on board were communicating with all of the alumni about the project and sort of prepping them and saying, this is how much we need to raise, this is the impact that we'll have for the students and for Lycoming College in our strategic plan. And so that was a really good way to sort of to bring up the topic and to bring up the project. And then we followed that up about 2 weeks later with a video that we had put together with some of the choir students. There was some footage of their rehearsals, and we had the choir director and the students and the alumni who had volunteered talking about not only their experience in choir, but also what this means for the institution and what that means for their experience at Lycoming and beyond. And so we had all this great lead up, and then we sent out a direct mail piece which introduced the link to the crowdfunding page, and then shortly thereafter, as it was hitting mailboxes, we sent out the email with the crowdfunding page. And it just the response from that group was overwhelming and immediate. And so we were really excited. We had a trustee of the college and his wife had donated a challenge gift, and so they were matching gifts up to a total of $20,000 for the project. And so that really inspired others to get on board. And I want to put this into perspective. This is a group of about 1,800 alumni, so it's a very small population, but we had a really great response from them. And so it's exciting to see that and to feel that energy, and then that only energizes the choir as well. So again, it's sort of that makes the donor feel good about what they're doing, and the students then in turn are also understanding what these gifts from alumni do for their own experience, and hopefully will transition into a habit for them once they graduate as well.
Fantastic. Now tell us a little bit about, just from a implementation and a sort of a tactical in terms of time. And I think when we're speaking about this, just compared to what you're used to in terms of preparing a program like this versus what, using this technology and approach, how long did it take to actually make this happen?
Well, I have been at I've been in higher ed for about 14 years, and I've worked at different institutions where we've done projects, specific fundraising projects or 24-hour challenges. And with all of those projects, it could take up to months until you really think about the messaging that goes into that, and you work with your marketing communications, the people that you need to be involved across campus and to inform from the gift reporting perspective, and being able to then take that information and report it out and be able to share that with your donors. Gift processing. I mean, there's just so much, as you know, that goes into any project for fundraising. With Mobile Cause, and like Randy, I'm not being paid to say this, I really feel so excited about using Mobile Cause. We were able to establish this, literally 2 of us sitting down in an hour, and we pulled up pictures. We had, the copy. It was so easy, and within an hour we had it linked. We had contacted our IT team. They had it up on our website, and we were ready to go. So it was all in place, and the only thing it's taken since has just been following the energy, following the gifts coming in, and being able to process those and receipt them and thank them. So it was really easy.
And so now, sort of what's next? Where do you see this going, and how do you see this, kind of fitting into your ongoing, programs throughout the year?
Sure. So we are, as I mentioned, we're in the silent phase of a comprehensive campaign. And so as we launch in the fall, we will really be thinking about the initiatives for our campaign. And as I mentioned with the strategic plan, our campaign initiatives are really in line with that strategic plan. And so it's exciting to think about how can we begin to target some of our messaging, some of our fundraising strategies, especially using Mobile Cause, to build excitement, to build a pipeline of donors for each of these initiatives. And so this gives us, one, the confidence to be able to do that. It gives us the technology to be able to do that and the ease of giving to be able to do that. So I'm really excited about that. And I think for us, with these types of smaller projects that we've been doing leading up to this, as you can see on the screen with the Giving Tuesday project that we did, with our Athletic Warrior Club fundraising that we're doing, and then just our typical Lycoming Fund fundraising that we do on an annual basis, we're able to really see, okay, where are the interests of our donors, and what levels do they want to give at? How do they want to give? Or do they prefer the texting? Do they prefer to go on and do it through a crowdfunding page? Are they sending us the check in response to the crowdfunding page? That type of information is really helpful for us, and we're able to use that to then develop our operating strategies and how we are communicating with our constituencies. So that's I think one of the items that I'm excited about, because it really helps to streamline operations.
That's terrific. And for those, that again are considering, spring events or have other events, coming and are considering implementing something like this, you have any sort of top recommendations for how they might proceed?
Sure. Well, actually, one of the questions that was asked of the presenters is, was there anything difficult about working with Mobile Cause and sort of building these platforms? And what I would say to that is no. Nothing stands out to me as being difficult. It was really easy. Obviously, you're your own institution, you're your own nonprofit, and so you'll have needs that maybe some other institutions do not. And so it's really great to be able to say to Mobile Cause, okay, here are some of our priority items that we'd love to see happen and we'd like to explore at our institution. And it's been really great working with your IT, your customer service, to really build those into our programs. So I hope that answers the one question that I didn't get a chance to answer before, but it sort of goes into what you're asking too, is don't be afraid to try new things. I think if you're concerned about resources, or you're concerned about time, support in terms of staff for this, it's really easy. It's a no-brainer. So in that sense, don't be afraid to try the new things. No matter what you do, keep it simple, because as I've found in any type of giving, if you make it easy for the donor, you're just going to get a better result. So make it easy, and just make sure that you're very clear about and consistent about your call to action.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lonnie. That's great stuff, and I'm going to move quickly to the next speaker. We have so much remaining content. We've got a lot of great questions that I want to get to. So everyone, again, please continue to submit your questions. We do have, a team at Mobile Cause standing by, of course, to answer all of your specific questions. So please do engage with us directly. We'll give you some key ways to do so after, at the end of the webinar. We're also going to have a quick roundtable here to kind of go around and get as many of these questions answered as possible. So I'd like to introduce our next speaker, David Faustina, Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission. He is the Chief Strategy Officer and has some terrific insight and recommendations that I'd like him to share with us. So welcome, David. Thanks for joining. And David may be on mute. We may have lost him temporarily. He's been patiently waiting. So while David gets on with us, I'm going to quickly transition to his slide. But David's going to talk to us a bit about where all of you are in approach to your spring giving. many of you may have sort of a fear of, donor fatigue, especially because at the end of the year, there's a lot of events at the end of every year. There's annual fundraising, there's Giving Tuesday, there's a lot happening, and there's a lot of potential concerns over donor fatigue. And I wonder, David, are you on with us?
Chris, I'll go ahead and take over for David. I think he might have accidentally dropped off.
Yes. Please do, Jeremy. Yes.
I've had the luxury of really getting introduced to Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission, which is here in Los Angeles, just working with David and creating these slides. And one of the things that they do incredibly well is they just continue to push forward with showing the great impact of their mission. The top 5 ways, and David, if you jump on at any time, please interrupt me.
Excellent.
Yeah, it looks like
David.
I'm back on here. I apologize. I don't know what happened there. So
no problem.
You couldn't hear me, so I brought it back here. But Jeremy, thanks for popping in. And I think he really started to encapsulate exactly what we're about. We're Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission is a full service rescue mission. We're actually now the largest provider of crisis beds for the homeless in the San Fernando Valley, which is a pretty expansive area. It's one of the larger spas or service provider areas within Los Angeles County. Tonight, we're going to have over 330 beds operational to house the homeless person, men, women, and children. So it is quite a reach. And I think, why we keep going is because the need keeps increasing. Homelessness keeps increasing. So if there's a need, we want to fill that need. And I think you have to be flexible and you have to be available to really respond to different situations and different times within the calendar year to really see what your approach is going to be. So it's very exciting for us right now. And we're just really, really happy to be on the call with you today.
Thanks so much, David. And I know you've got just so much background and experience with events in particular. I mean, I know we talked about like sort of spring is sort of the gala, sort of season. Like you said, you take your tux out for now, and it stays out for 4 months. So
actually, Chris, I just pulled out my tux. Actually, the tux comes out at the 1st of February, and I have it dry cleaned and ready to go. It seems, especially here in LA, it really is the season of the gala, and it seems like every nonprofit is having a gala probably every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night throughout the next, I'd say at least 4 months up into the summer months. And I think it's an exciting time. I think it's an exciting time for the staff, for supporters, and for our community to really just go out to these galas and to hear more, to see where their dollars are making the greatest impact. But I really view special events not as a fundraising opportunity, but as a friend-raising opportunity. And that really kind of takes the edge off of putting a number on what we should be raising. Now, of course, it's nice to break even so you're not losing money on the event. But I always say, if you could cultivate a new donor, if you could re-inspire or re-engage a lapsed donor at one of your events, then what is the payout long term on that donor? And so I think oftentimes we look at the immediate, but we're not looking at the long term and what is the total value of that donor. And so I really have started to rethink the gala and really look at it in terms of a marketing opportunity, an opportunity for us to get in front of people to share our story.
And how do you see, sort of mobile technology and crowdfunding kind of fitting into, these events that have traditionally been, black tie and non-tech? How do you see those things shaping up and evolving?
Yeah, I think I had a similar experience as Randy was speaking to earlier about introducing mobile technology into the special event focus. And we had introduced a certain mobile technology for silent auction bidding, for online check-in, and for event updates, also for a thermometer type of an exercise. And a lot of our staff had some trepidation about actually introducing this. And it was almost like we didn't want to put the clipboards with the pins and the silent auction sheets away. And yet we were being offered an opportunity to try something brand new, really cutting edge, and something that would actually drastically reduce the amount of time the administrative team spends on processing out the silent auction and the live auction items. It also would help, we were told it will help us to raise more money. When you hear all of these great positives, you start kind of going, there's got to be a hook here somewhere, and maybe it won't work. But we tried it anyway. And I think one of the learnings that I had from introducing this mobile technology into the silent auction and into these galas was that I had preconceived notions about who would and who would not actually adapt to the technology. And actually what I found was we were completely wrong in our assessment on who would actually really adhere to and really embrace that mobile technology. And at first we said, we've got a lot of, let's just say, an older generation of donors, really committed, come to all of the events. They're the first ones to give to the special campaigns and the capital campaigns. And we thought, we might really miss the mark on this, and we might alienate a whole generation of our most faithful donors. And but we tried it anyway, and we in fact made sure we ordered extra iPads and iPhones around the whole area there, because we thought maybe some people won't want to give their cell phone number. But in actuality, what we found out was about 97% of all of our attendees, and we had about 600 come out to our last event at CBS Studios in Studio City, about 97% of all of the registrants registered via their mobile phone, and they used the bidding software that we provided through the mobile device. So we saw that this was something that the audience was already accustomed to. They actually already knew how to navigate these waters. And what I found really interesting was that the older generation were the first ones to really adapt and embrace the technology. And it was some of the younger generation, what we would call millennials, who were the ones with their hands up trying to get help with how to use the technology. So, I think one of the tips for spring fundraising would be, let's never prejudge or judge any of our donors and their capabilities. I think that people are ready for the technology, and I think it will help all nonprofits out
there. Fantastic. And I think, continue on that line. What other sort of best practices do you sort of recommend, in planning kind of spring events? And, I think you had mentioned something else about thinking of yourself as a steward. And, maybe you want to talk to that a little bit.
Absolutely will. I think the greatest asset that we have besides the clients that we serve are the donors who allow us to do the work that we do. Without the donor, there's no service to the client. And we could say without the client, there's no service to the donor. But if we didn't have the clients, then it means we were actually accomplishing our mission and our outreach. And I think what really needs to be focused on is the importance of the donor. And I know a lot of times when we're in the weeds and we're trying to pull out that extra bit of money there to push the organization forward, or maybe we need an upgrade in our infrastructure, maybe we need to add more staff, maybe we just want to add the programs because we know the need is great. A lot of times we just automatically go to our donors and say they're going to help us out. But I think that in this springtime, especially in February, I use February every year as kind of that regrowth time, that time to just step back a moment before those galas hit and before the big grand openings and the new programs start and summer months start. And I always use February as a contemplative month, a month to strategize and a month to set up the game plan moving forward. The accounting books, the accounting cycle, at least for Hope of the Valley, closed, at December 31st. So it gives us about 4 weeks to kind of really get all of those final numbers in for the year and understand where we're at to make some decisions about the future. And, so I always like to focus on the donors. And the first thing that I always tell people on our staff are, let's get over the fear of donor fatigue. I think sometimes we think that the donors are fatigued by the multiple asks and the multiple ways in which we ask them. But I think really what that means is it's us. It's the development professionals that have hit fatigue. And it's really nice to be able to couch that and put that over on the donors. But I really think what the donors get fatigued about is us not listening. And, I think to be a proper steward of the resources, and something that I have learned just time and time again, is that the largest gifts come when I actually invest myself and my time, and our staff invest their time in getting to know what the desires and the wants of the donor are. I ran a professional theater company up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I can tell you fundraising for the arts is much different than fundraising for the human service field. And in the arts, a lot of times it really is about the glitz and the glamour and the name up on the wall and the recognition and the special seating in the VIP section for the opening night of the play. And that's okay, and there's a real place for that. But then when you go over to the human services, it's a little bit more intrinsic. It's a little bit more, I want to make sure somebody gets a meal. So when we look at just those two subsets of donors, it's really important to kind of modify our approach and modify how we go after that donor, or how we approach the donor with a conversation. And so I always like to just use this month to get to know my donors. And I think one thing that nonprofits are going to really come to expect and see that it's kind of a trend going into the future is we might even be going away from some of these large-scale events and really looking at some of the smaller-scale events, 10 to 50 people, real informal. It could be like a boutique, a salon format to it, where you're really having an opportunity to listen to your donors. And, I was telling you, Chris, last week a story about one of my donors that I had finally just taken a moment and said, it's really important that I just get to know where her heart is and what I could be doing better to make sure that she feels that her gifts are being utilized. And, she took me out, and we were walking around one of our facilities, and I finally just looked at her, and I looked at her and I said, you are such a faithful donor to this organization, and you give from a place of just genuine love. What motivates you to give to a charity like this? And, she looked over at a group of the men in our program, in our drug and alcohol recovery program, and she said, it's for them. And she said, I had lost a son to drugs and alcohol, and I don't want any other mother to experience the pain that I had to go through. So my gifts are not mine. They're for my son. And, it was in a moment like that you step back and you just allow the moment to be the moment. And I realized that she wasn't giving just from her heart, but she was giving from her son's heart. So other people wouldn't have to experience that. Those are the stories that we come across. And it's those stories that really, really just speak to me to say that when those donor dollars come in, we really have a responsibility and a duty to do something really spectacular with that and to be proper stewards of those funds. So, even when we're planning our special events, to really know what is enough and sometimes what is too much, because sometimes enough will really inspire a donor, but sometimes too much might really turn them off. So, it's as much as we like to go big, sometimes just going with enough will do the trick.
Fantastic, David. And I'm wishing we had a lot more time, because we'd love to hear a lot more of your experience. And I think this is exactly why we're all, in this community and doing what we're doing. So everyone, just a quick housekeeping note: we may run a few minutes over. We understand if you may have other meetings, but so we will again be sending out a link to the recorded version of this webinar, so you won't miss anything. It'll include the chat. So now quickly, I'd like to dive into some real specific how Mobile Cause works. Jeremy, take it away.
Thanks, Chris, and thank you, speakers. That's great insight. You guys are doing incredible things, and I'm just excited to be a part of this presentation. So now we're gonna have some fun, and I'm gonna show you guys exactly how pre, during, and post-event mobile cause solutions work. So if you all wouldn't mind pulling out your cell phones, we're going to do a little texting, and then you'll have the great links that you see on screen on your mobile device. So before the event, we've talked about sending registration links and as well as sending donation links so that when people can't attend, they can give. So everybody pull out your cell phones and go ahead and send a text message to the phone number 51555. And then in the message box, type in the word gold RSVP, all one word. A trick here when you're making a call to action is that if you tell people to type in all caps, it actually disables autofill. So I'm just doing that on my phone. And then you'll immediately get a reply message back that says Baylor going for the Gold Gala, January 17th. Then you see the registration link, which you can click to buy tickets and register. Or if you can't make the event, the person could click the link and make a donation. And again, those donations will be showed in real time. This message can be sent to anyone who is in your donor database. Nonprofits have a special provision in the TCPA Consumer Protection Act to be able to upload their entire list of donor database and start sending compelling text messages. So that's a great before event example. Please share that with your team. Those are demo pages. During your event, all right, so we're going to have to do a little web browser gymnastics here for you to be able to see the example. But I actually want you to open up a new web browser, and preferably in Google Chrome, and just type in the URL you see in front of you. And that's going to take you to the example thermometer. So just type in emscause.us/thermometer. And I'm doing it with you right at this moment. Give you guys all a minute to get here. Okay, you'll see a RedF, a demo example here that says, some of you already jumped forward and made pledges. That says goal 100,000 raised 3. And so what I want you to do, and again, this is just a pledge. This is just a demo. Your card won't be charged. You won't receive any automatic notifications or anything like that. Just go ahead and send a text message to the phone number 91999 as you see on screen, and text the word RedF, followed by a space, the amount you would like to give, and your name, just as you see here on the screen. And as you do that, you will start to see names and donation amounts pop up on screen in the live fundraising thermometer. So I can see, thank you, Susan. And then here we go. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Susie Q, for your $350 donation. And if we were at a live event, oh, thank you, Megan, $50. Rachel, thank you for that $100 donation. Come on, everybody, let's do it. At this time, you could start to enter in matching gifts. You could start to enter in all the revenues you got from Cinderella, $1,000. All right. Again, this is a fun, exciting moment. This takes the awkwardness out of asking for donations. Oh my goodness, somebody just accidentally pledged or intentionally pledged $500,000. And you also see the total donor amount continue to rise and rise and rise and rise. If you're listening to this call, you can go ahead and go to this link and try it out for yourself. One of the things that has not been mentioned is a powerful technique that I have used personally at events is when I have a room full of 100 people, I ask that everyone in the room would give something and participate, whether it be $1 or $100,000. And so this, again, just creates an exciting moment of giving. For all of you that have made a pledge, oh, somebody just gave another $1 million. Incredible. I'm going to toggle back. I'm going to close that window for the thermometer, and then I'm going to have you look back down at your phone, and you'll see that if you sent in that pledge, you got a text that said, thank you so much, or complete, and then here it would say RedF if this was a real pledge, complete RedF mobile pledge here. And then when you click the link, you'll see that takes you to the mobile-friendly, very easy to fill out donation form with your pledge amount and your mobile number pre-populated on the form. And that is how you use mobile cause solutions during an event. Very cool, very amazing. I'm excited to hear all the success stories that many of you will have this year with this solution. Lastly, I'm going to go to the after event demo. We highly recommend that as people subscribe to your list by texting keywords throughout the year, that you continuously engage them with compelling text message text messages that have links to videos, to photo galleries, to opportunities, petitions, surveys. As it was stated by a few of our speakers, it's really important that you use the highest level of sensitivity when sending text messages. And we have found that the best practice is to set realistic expectations. So if you tell people that you're going to send them one text message a week, or that you're going to send them a reminder before, during, and after an event, then do it. I've found that when you set realistic, clear expectations up front about how often you're going to be text messaging people, it, as much as possible, eliminates the problem of people replying stop to unsubscribe. Here's a great example if you guys want to do it. You can go ahead and text the word Our Games to a different short code, 51555. And this is just a demo example from the Special Olympics of Oregon. And you'll immediately get a message back that says, Special Olympics of Oregon alert, Our Games are always. And then you can watch now, and it just preloads a great PSA YouTube video. With that, I hope that you've been wowed, and I'm going to turn us back over to Chris, and we're going to take the next 12 minutes or so, right up to about 12:15, to answer any and all questions that you have. Thanks a lot. Take it away, Chris.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeremy. And I would encourage everyone, if we don't get to all of your specific sort of technical questions, to engage with us. I'll give you a URL. There's a phone number. I will give that out. I would encourage all of you to interact directly with the Mobile Cause representative. We can walk you through specifically, how it might work for you and specific costs, et cetera, because we have a fantastic customer success team. And I think that's, really one of the reasons, in addition to how easy the platform is to use, that, the speakers today have had such great success is because of the customer success team member that is assigned to them, that works with them on an ongoing basis to make sure they get the most out of exactly what they're deploying. So I'd encourage all of you, again, just real quick, give us a call at 888-661-8804 or visit us at mobilecause.com/demo. Either of those will get someone to you immediately. So real quick, I'd like to get back to some questions. We've got a lot of great ones. So first up, Randy, back to you. In terms of when including a thermometer, do you suggest adding donations, prior to the event from sponsors, or, how do you, in terms of what do you show in the thermometer? Is it just money raised at the event? Yeah.
Yeah, we keep it solely, at this point, we keep it solely to what's raised in that room. The only exception would be where, as I said earlier, is if we have a match. So we really want to get that room motivated to go above and beyond. And so far we've been successful in that effort. So we don't fill that thermometer with gifts in advance. It's all fresh new money that we've raised.
Fantastic. And,
Chris,
and now here's a... Yes, please.
I just wanted to add on to that. I would do the same thing that Randy would do at an event, but for the crowdfunding pages that we did solely online, we actually did add some of the gifts prior to sort of build some beginning energy and momentum so other donors can see that, okay, there's some excitement around this and I'd like to add to and join in making a gift.
That's a great point, Lonnie. You're absolutely right. Two different applications, but you're 100%.
Yes. And now maybe this is a question to both of you, and because of your experience, but first to Lonnie, any recommendations, and this is a question on how to create a donor base when you're first starting out?
It's a question, it's who knows who. It's starting with your board. It's getting people engaged. It's reaching out to people that you think are going to be receptive to your mission. I don't know how else to do it except to find out if you already have people engaged and involved and they're passionate about your mission. Part of their job as ambassadors, if you will, is to get others to hear the message and get them in the tent. You're not going to solicit them first time you meet people, of course. It's a dance, it's a process, but you've got to be able to get the right people to hear your message and get involved and hopefully become engaged enough to want to support it.
Yeah, and we're so unique. We have,
yeah, please, Lonnie.
We're unique in that we obviously have an alumni base already established. So it's a little bit different. I mean, we already have that those connections, but it doesn't mean we have about a 24% alumni participation rate. So we need to make sure that when students are here, that we are trying to communicate to them how alumni gifts are impacting their experience, so that will then transcend into their own experience as an alum, and they may want to then give back. But in terms, same thing Randy said, really just engaging the population through, for us in particular, through regional alumni events on campus, and then just building the excitement around particular projects and trying to communicate to people based on the affinity that they were involved in campus.
And I would add this too, that you could buy mailing lists. We don't do direct mail for a couple of reasons. It's expensive, and I don't think the return is worth the investment. My experience that may be different from others. We do send out newsletters and annual reports, and we put a giving envelope in there, but I don't buy mailing lists and go down that road. I do see a question that came up about auctions. If there's any resistance for us doing this in terms of, well, we're already in the room, we've bought a table or we've bought a seat, et cetera, we don't do auctions anymore. Once in a while we'll do one or two live auction items if they're very special, but we don't do footballs and signed jerseys and framed prints. And we found that people, it's a bit tired. There are organizations that do very well with that, and I think it's great. We just have not done that. So in lieu of that, we do this quick 10 to 12-minute appeal. It's fast, it's fun, and it generates a lot of money, and it's all net revenue to us. So you might want to consider replacing that with this kind of technology.
Great answer. Thank you so much. And how about you, David? I'd love to hear you chime in sort of on building momentum and increasing the size of your donor base. Any thoughts around that and how this kind of technology and programs might be able to impact that?
Yeah, absolutely. To the other speaker's points, I think every organization is going to be different. And, for Hope of the Valley and for my organization, direct mail has actually been the one, I would say, growth opportunity that we have had. It's been very successful for our cause. In 6 years, we've grown our donor database from zero all the way up to we now have about 17,400 donor contacts within our database, and for many of those, they're active to a certain point. So there's always going to be attrition rates that will come into play there. But in 6 years, to build a base of that size has been very, very helpful to us to start running Wealth Engine and to really start qualifying some of those donors who we otherwise would never have met. There's a lot of noise out there. In fact, I believe they used to say in marketing, it would have to take 8 interactions with a brand before somebody would start recognizing that brand or realizing that they existed. I believe the number now is something like 68 impressions before somebody will start recognizing your brand. So we're even going from interaction to impressions. And so I think there's so much noise and so much coming at people. And at the end of the day, we're a nonprofit, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't be making a profit that gets returned to programs to serve more people. And so, I think we have to look at what our industry is. I think our subsector within the sector. I think we have to look at our communities that we're in, and then make judgment calls based on that. I think there's a lot of different ways we could do fundraising. I think the number one key to all of it, though, is follow through and follow up. You could have a donor database of 17,000. You can have a great event and send out invitations and have people show up. But at that point, they just become an impression to your organization. So the follow-up and the follow-through. And oftentimes we think that's just for the CEO or the strategy officer or the development director to do. But a lot of times it's the person at your front desk that has made that first contact with somebody. And just an absolutely wonderful young lady that sits at our front desk. She helps with procurement for our thrift stores. And I have had more than one of our now classified major donors come up to me and say the reason why we continue to give at the level that we give was because when we met and her name is Tess. I don't think she'll mind me saying her name over the webinar. When we met Tess, the way that she treated us made us feel very important here. And, Tess didn't know she was doing anything different than just what she does. And so, it's like Disneyland. I love the story that at Disneyland, they always they give a lot of training to their street sweepers and the janitors throughout the park, because that is actually proven that is the very first contact for many guests that walk through those turnstiles. If they have a question where a ride is, they go and they seek somebody. Why? Because they're everywhere. You can see them all over the park. I think that's a really important principle for us in the nonprofit sector to really take on, is that we never know who the donor is going to connect to. So, I always like to say it's a round table in the fundraising department, and it takes all of us. So, I just wish everybody luck during the spring fundraising season, and just don't be afraid. Get out there and ask.
That's terrific. That's a wonderful final thought there, David, and because we're getting close to the top of the hour, we've gone over, and so I just want to give both Randy and Lonnie an opportunity. And Lonnie, how about you first? Any sort of final thoughts, given of all the questions we've had today, any sort of final thoughts you wanted to recommend to everyone?
I just want to echo David. I really think that he's absolutely right. We can have all these wonderful systems such as we do through Mobile Cause, and you can have that great alumni or constituent base, but you really do have to do the follow through. And so recognition is really important to the retention. So well said, David.
Thank you.
My only final thought is that you can do this no matter the size of your shop. This is, in terms of mobile technology and integrating this into your campaigns and your strategy, this is a no-brainer. It's something new. It's something fun. It's easy. It's cost-effective. I would give it a try. You've got nothing to lose. Add it to your tools and what you're doing to raise money. Use some of the techniques we've talked about with matching gifts, and it's simple. And Mobile Cause will be there every step of the way. Jeremy and Chris know how to get a hold of me. I'm happy to continue the conversation if there's questions. But I wish everybody good luck. We're all trying to make a difference in this world, and bravo to everybody. Thank you so much for the time.
Very well said, Randy. Thank you all so much again for your terrific insight. I'd encourage everyone to stay tuned for future webinars. We do these regularly, continuing to give back, educate the community. Again, if you have specific questions about Mobile Cause, please do get in touch with us at 888-661-8804 or visit us on the web at www.mobilecause.com/demo. Again, stay tuned also for the recorded version of the webinar along with the presentation. I'd also encourage all of you to visit our resources section of our website, where there are lots of other previous webinars with great insights just like today. You can get that at mobilecause.com/resources. So thanks again for attending. Thanks to our terrific speakers. Have a great day, everyone.